The video you are watching now is a confirmation that Buhari, when he came to power, was for Boko Haram and ISIS West Africa. The video you are watching now is a confirmation that the war on terror is just charade in Nigeria. The video you are watching now is a confirmation, a proof that this Nigeria government of today is controlled by terrorists, and all they want to do is to bring Islamic State in Nigeria. And they are succeeding because, as I speak to you today, not only that the fight against Boko Haram is a scam, not only that it is a sham, not only that it is a charade, but as I'm talking to you today, the three arms of government in Nigeria is controlled by Boko Haram representatives. All the security chiefs in Nigeria today, except for Navy and one from the Dutuwa Republic, all of them are representatives of the Boko Haram and Islamic West Africa. That is how bad it has become. So this video you are watching now will prove to you that this government you see today in Nigeria is nothing but a terrorist-controlled government. Now, listen to this man.
Would you walk us through the Boko Haram offensive?
Boko Haram offensive was really not part of executive outcomes. That was STEP International that actually partook in that offensive. I need to first of all make it very clear that we were a subcontractor. There was a prime contractor appointed that appointed us as a subcontractor. Our initial aim was not Boko Haram per se, but it was to rescue the Chibok girls. They were the girls that had been kidnapped, and where the Western response was #SaveTheGirls. That type of nonsense does not save girls. Unfortunately, these girls became victims of a situation where the security had broken down in a specific area. They were kidnapped, and that was the first mission, rescue the Chibok girls. We then did a selection process of the Nigerian soldiers. The soldiers we retained after the selection process were then trained in a very specific way to conduct a hostage rescue operation. And that requires a very specific type of person. However, approximately 5 or 6 weeks into the training of the hostage rescue team, we were asked to change our mission. And that mission was to go to a town called Maiduguri in northeast Nigeria that had come under severe threat of Boko Haram. We then rapidly had to transition what we were doing and suddenly train a very offensive force with a minimum of equipment, and we rushed to Maiduguri. We met with the 7th Infantry Division commander. We finally understood the pressures he was under, and our suggestion was to him that this force we had trained, which we named the 72nd Mobile Strike Force, would actually spearhead the division. And that is precisely what we did. The operation was in 3 phases. The first phase was to actually cut a dividing line across northeastern Nigeria and isolate Boko Haram into 2 defined areas, and then mop up one area in the south was the start, and after that was done, mop up in the north. The division would follow behind, occupied terrain. We would train the division in situ in defensive positions, etc. But we were never allowed to execute the entire operation. So in 1 month, we took back terrain larger than Belgium from Boko Haram. We were not allowed to finish because it came at a time when governments were in the process of changing. I think President Jonathan's government possibly saw the entire Boko Haram contract, if we call it that, almost as a last gasp in order to regain popularity. The incoming president, President Buhari, was heavily supported by a foreign government, and one of the first missions was to terminate our contract.
Could you name that foreign government?
Yes, we were told it was the United States, and they had actually funded President Buhari's campaign. The campaign manager for President Buhari came from the US. And I'm not saying that the United States is bad. I understand foreign interests, but I would have thought that a threat such as Boko Haram on the integrity of the state of Nigeria ought to be actually a priority. It wasn't.
Why do you think the US would intervene to abort such operation?
Again, I can't answer that. I think that the US can answer, but what I've come to realize, that is when a government's foreign interests clash with the state's own domestic interests, conflict is bound to ensue. And those conflicts usually just continue with no end. And we can look at all the conflicts in Africa where foreign forces have come in, they've prolonged those conflicts, they haven't ended those conflicts. And the amount of money and manpower and equipment thrown at those conflicts says to me that something is wrong if no end result is achieved. And surely that end result should be to end the conflict and establish a basis for negotiations, come to an agreement, and then re-establish governance. But that's not what's happening in Africa.
How much did you charge the Nigerian government?
Well, first of all, we didn't charge the Nigerian government. And I think here that is a question the Nigerian government can answer. We were one subcontractor. So in other words, the Nigerian government appointed a contractor, and we contracted to that contractor as their subcontractor.
It went. That was the reason most of us don't like Obama. Most of us don't like Obama because Obama contributed a lot in making sure that this Islamic State that is in Nigeria now came to play and came to stay in 2015. And that is why a lot of us don't like Obama today, because of this video you just watched. So, you see what is going on? And more revelation are coming. More revelation are coming by the day to prove to you that when we are tagging these people, terrorist control government, you think we are just making noise or propaganda. This is it. Everything is documented and there are video proof of whatever we say against this government. And any country that is supporting Nigeria from this 2020 should know that they are supporting terrorism. Should know that they are supporting terrorists. Should know that they are aiding terrorism and they are aiding terrorists. And the only solution to the situation in Nigeria today, in West Africa today, is freedom of Biafra. Biafra is going to be the country that will put terrorism to an end in that region. There is no other solution, because every other country that will come from that place, Oduduwa, they are mixed. You have Muslim and you have Christians. But in Biafra land, Biafra is going to be 100% Christians country. And Biafra will be the only country to fight terrorism with uprightness. And Biafra will put to an end to terrorists and make sure that we protect Christians in those regions. We will protect Christians, because the way they are annihilating Christians now, putting fear everywhere, none of these church leaders are talking anymore. Everybody is afraid. So if Biafra is not restored now, it will come to a point that everybody will be afraid. And that is exactly what they are looking for. So that you will be afraid. That is what terror does. The terror tries to create fear so you can accept what you don't want to accept. And the time for Biafra is now, to put an end to this escalation of terrorism in West Africa and in Nigeria.